Hello and welcome. This is Randy with Excel for Freelancers, and in today's video training we are going to be taking Word templates and using data from the Excel table to create emails either in PDF or Word format, and we're also going to be either emailing or printing them. It's going to be a fantastic training, so let's get started. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today. In today's video, we're going to be using a form of mail merge, but we're going to be using the Excel version of mail merge, in which we take data from a table just like you would in mail merge, and we're going to use a Word template to fill in information from the table. But unlike in the Word version of mail merge, what we're going to do is we're going to send that information based on some filters that we set, and we're going to be able to select from multiple Word templates, and we're also going to be able to email those templates either in Word or PDF. So simply clicking on a Create Now button, we'll go ahead and create an email, create a Word document, and put that in a PDF format along with it customized, so that your PDF is automatically customized with the actual data in here. So it's going to be a fantastic training today, and I wanted to get started. And let's go over some of the reasons why we may do this. Now, Word does have a great mail merge feature itself, but we are limited in Word to some of the things that we can do with that. And we can also track items in Excel. So if we go ahead and create those templates, we can go ahead and see what was sent and when it was sent when we do it in Excel, and we can avoid duplicating that information. We can also set some parameters in Excel, like let's say in this particular sample, we have our last appointment date, and then we have the days since that last appointment. Now, what if I want to send out this specific template for letters from 1 to 30 days? And what if I want to send out this specific template for days of 31 to 90? Well, when we have that kind of option and we create this functionality in Excel, we can do that simply by clicking on the Create Now. When we have the email set, is going to open up our Word document and then create PDFs based on that, and it's going to create multiple emails, each with their own individual PDF customized to the data. And so we see in this sample four different PDFs along with their emails corresponding, each one unique in its own way. So let's go ahead and go over how we did that and how you can use this for any type of email sent, for any type of data, and you can customize this exactly as you would want to do that. So we'll go ahead and go over that. Now, we can also do this in Word format too. So for example, if we change this to Word, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this because it won't send out, which is what we want. It won't send out again. So we'll delete it so that it knows, yes, we can send one more. And let's go ahead and click Create Now, and you'll see that a Word document will open up in the background. And in this time, we've actually created a Word document. And if we open that up, we can open that up and take a look and see what was created. Here you see in the Word document, all of the variables get changed out just as we have done. Let's go ahead and inspect the actual template, and so you can see where we start. So what we've done is we have a list of data in here, and what I want to do is I want to map that data. I want to be able to use this data inside our Word template just as we do with mail merge. But this is far more powerful because we can use multiple templates, we can use multiple formats, and we can use multiple send variations, whether it's email or print. So this is far more powerful and easier, and we have a history tracking as well. So what I've done here is I've used a mapped name range. So this is last name, and this is first name, address. So what I've done is I've added these symbols before so that we can easily recognize it. And you as well can do the same. In your Word template, you can also map your own. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. We'll open up one of the templates that I've created here into Word. And you'll see here we have first name, last name. Now be careful, these are not, although it looks the same, these are not mail merge labels, okay? This is simply a user typing in, you know, less than, first, okay, name, just like that. And so that's all you need to do to add in your data labels. It's quite simple. Right? So to do that, simply replace whatever your data wants to be with the names here. And so in these we have days, okay, because we want to know how many days it's been since our last appointment, and we want to know the last appointment day. So I have multiple data labels just as we have in our Excel file here, where we have last appointment days and days. So it's super simple to customize this just the way you had it. All you have to do is add your own data, add your own data label, and then make sure that exact same label is used in your Word document so that you can make sure that it's mapped out properly. It's very simple. So all we've did for the days here is just a simple formula. I've taken today's date and subtracted the date of the last appointment day, and that gives us our whole number. Let's go ahead and make sure that's general. It'll often think of it, it's a date, and when you see that, just make sure it's general. Sometimes Excel automates, and when we don't want it to automate. And once the template is sent, I use VBA to automatically place the template that was sent and the date and the time that it was sent. So that's really powerful here. And we do that through VBA. We have the option to select from multiple templates. Now I've also created a sheet where we have templates. And if I were to remove this template, okay, adding a template is simple. We can do that from VBA simply by clicking this button where it brings up our file dialog, and then we can choose whatever template we want to add and just click OK. Right? And that's going to add our templates. So whatever templates you add here will be available in here. Okay, so how did we do that? Under templates, we've created a named range, and I've created a variable named range. Right? I could create a named range that covers this entire, table column, but what I don't want to do is I don't want the extra spaces. Okay, if there's only 3, I want to show 3. If there's 4, right? If there's one more, I want to create just that 4th. I don't want to see any blank spaces. Okay. So to do that, what we've done is we've created a dynamic name range using offset, and I'll show you how that works. Into the Formulas tab, click on Named Manager, and I just have one here, and it's called Document Templates. When we go and inspect that, what this is offset. I've used the offset formula. And basically how the offset formula works is, first what it does is it counts all of the rows with text. Count A means count text. And we're counting the text, so we need to know number. Counting the text from E6 to E25, so it counts. Right now there's 3, so this number is 3. So this gives us our starting point. Our starting point is 6. Okay, we're not going to offset the number of columns. Okay, we're not going to offset any other variables here, but we do need the number of rows here. Okay, and this is just one column. So the offset allows us to set that. And that's what helps us. That's what keeps our field values here, just only those field values, okay? So that's how we do that. And that's really, really helpful so that as this table grows, so does our document list here. Okay. And this was used, we just used the data validation. When you click on data validation, you'll see that this contains document templates. That's all it is. And it'll bring you right back to where it's located. So that's how we've done that. Again, email and Word is also a data validation, just using two variables here. When you click on data validation, you'll see that's both Word and PDF. As well, what I've done is I've created, I want to know the number of days. In this particular, when VBA runs through the list, I only want it to send based on a couple of conditions. I want it to be 31 or over, and I want it to be 90 or under. So those are the conditions that we set. So that's why when you see that the code ran, it ran through and it just chose just these, and it didn't send for any of these because these are all under 90. So those are some parameters that I've set. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to create an email. Okay, I also have the option to print, and this will print to your default printer. All right, let's go ahead, and you've covered the basics here, so let's go ahead and see how we did that through VBA. Now, one more thing actually I wanted to show you was that in VBA, I need to know what template this is. Okay, what I need to know is I need to get this value here. This tells us our template name. We know our template name because we've selected it here. But when Excel VBA has to pull up the actual template, we need that entire file name, which is here, that long file name. We need to know exactly where to find that. And so this helps us. So what I need to know is I need to know what row. Okay, if we have selected 90, right, customer reminder 90, right, I need to know for sure that it's on 7. Okay, I need to know it's on 7. How do we get 7? We need to know 7. We already know F, right? We know it's in column F, but we need to know what row. So how do we get that row? Well, we know if we use the match column, if we use the match, we know we're going to find this is going to be a third, right? So example, a match would be equals match. What are we looking for? We're looking for this. And what are we looking at? We're looking in document templates, right? And we need an exact match. Okay, so it's going to tell us 2, right? It's the second item, but I don't want 2, right? I want 7, right? Well, why do we need 7? We need 7 for the row. Now, since this starts on row 6, remember the first one is row 6, so all we would need to do is add 5 to that, right? And that is going to give us 7. So that's exactly what I have done right here. Okay, that's the only thing. The template row is 7. And then I've added the if error, which is always good because when VBA sees an error, it's going to pull up a bug. So we always want to say if an error, just leave it blank. So in that case, all I've done is use the match column, and then I've added 5. It's a very simple. B3 is where our template row is located. That's all we need to know. We can hide that for right now. It's not so important. I just wanted you to see B3 because you're going to see that in the code. Let's go ahead and go into the code. Under the Developers tab, you'll see Visual Basic here. You can also press Alt F11. If you don't see the Visual tab available, you can locate that under the Options and then go ahead and click Customize ribbon, and you can see, make sure the Developers tab is selected here. So let's go ahead and go in that. And we see we have just 2 macros. It's very simple. There are no on-sheet macros here. They're blank. There's nothing going on the sheets themselves. Let's go ahead and expand that a little bit. So we only have 2, and the first of which is simply a browse. Remember, we browsed for the folder, right? We need to know what template file is. I'll go ahead and show that to you again. This macro right here, add template, is going to basically help you browse for a particular file and put it right here. That's all that macro does. And so basically, we've gone over the browse file dialog before. So we're going to simply open it up and then put that in the first row available, first row being sheet 2 E99 and then +1. This tells us the last row with data, so we need to make sure we add 1, which is going to be the first available row. So this code will say, hey, put that file name, right? Remember, we've selected the item, but if we just use select item, it's going to give us that long file name. When we add dir, directory, short for directory, it's going to tell us just the file name. So when we use directory, it's going to give us just this file name, just the file name. That's all we want there. So that's dir and then the file name. And then when we want the long file name, the entire thing, we can use this one, selected items. This will give us our long file name, right? So in E goes just the file name. In F goes the long pathway, including the file name. So those are the only 2 things, and those are going to go in the first row. So that's it for that macro. It's very simple. We have gone over it before in other videos, but I did want you to make sure we went over it. I didn't want to skip it. Our next macro, and actually the only one that's the only macro that this needs, is just one single macro that does everything for us. And I'll go ahead and go over that now with you. We're only working on sheet 1 primarily, a little bit in sheet 2. So for our purposes, we're going to use with sheet 1, and that includes all of this code until the end with here. So everything here is with sheet 1. Right? The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we do have a correct template. Our templates are located in, remember that template row? Remember we said B3? If it's empty, then we know there's a problem. They haven't selected the right error. Okay, so if that match formula causes an error, we use that if error, right, and then blank, right? So if there's an error, it's blank. So that's going to say if B3 is empty, that means there's an error. So we're going to say please select the correct template from the drop-down list. So that's why, and what I've done is selected G3. So for example, this is what would happen. If we select a wrong, I don't think it's going to let us. It won't even let us. But let's say, okay, let's say we've got a space and we try to run that code. It's going to say, please select a correct template from the dropdown. So that helps us avoid any errors for missing templates. So that's why we have that if there right in the code. So that's this little piece right here. Next up, now that we know we've got a correct template and we can go ahead and get that template row, and we need to know the template row, and that's in B3. We just went over that. The template name is located in G3. We need to get that. We want to know the template name. Why do we need the template name? Because when our macro is finished, I want to take this template name and I want to put it right here in this column. So I want to make sure we have that template name. Next up, we have from days. Now, from days is that filter that we're going to put on there so we know if we're going to be sending out or printing one of these letters. And our from days is located right here in L3, and our to days is located in N3. So we've go ahead and define those two, from days and to days. Next up, I want to find the location. That is the long file name. Remember, this is in sheet 2. This is our templates. F, we know that F, remember we went E is the file name. F is the long pathway that includes the file name. And we know the row it's on, right? We know the row is in B3. So F and B3 is going to get us our long document file name. Our long is in sheet 2, column F, and the row, and that's our long file name. So we need that because we've got to open it up. So now we're ready to open up. Now we want to open up that Word document, and up above we've used late binding, and late binding means simply that we've defined certain items as objects. Okay, we're going to be using two different we're going to be using Outlook for email, and we're going to be using Word for the document. So we've outlined the Word document itself, that's the actual document, and the application for Word. And just it's very similar with Outlook. We've outlined to mention the Outlook application and the Outlook mail itself as both its objects. And the Word content as a range. So we're going to use this a little bit later on in the range. And then we also have, so basically what we need to do is we need to say if Word application itself is open, we don't need to open the application. So this is going to, this little code is going to help us with that. It says on air resume next. That means if Word, because if we try to open Word as an application that's already open, it could cause an error. So we just want to say if it's already open, just skip this. Okay, we don't need that. And then it's going to say if the error number is 0. Because if the error number does not equal 0, right, then we need to clear the error, and then we can also launch a new instance of Word right here. And this will help us add the word set Word app, create Word application. And all this does is launches Word itself. It doesn't launch the document itself. We haven't opened the document. All we've done is open Word as an application. So that allows us two instances. Open the document, if it's not been open. All right. Next up, we want to get the last row of our table, which in this case is 22, but your table will probably grow. So we want to make sure that the last row is dynamic so that it grows as your table grows or shrinks as your table shrinks. So we're going to use E in the last row, in this case 22. So we will go ahead and define the last row as E, and then we'll use a high number here, XL up dot row. This will get us our last row. We're going to start at row 8. We're going to create a loop, a for next loop right here. We're going to actually create 2, but we're going to create one loop that goes from row to row to row to row, and that's this loop, for customer row, and it stops right here, next customer row. Okay, so that is the loop that we're going to create. And in that loop, we're just going to basically go from row to row to row, from the first to the last. So that's how we do that. Next up, what I want to do is I want to know the days. I want to know the days for that specific row, and our days are located in column M and the customer row. So I want to get those days since. That is this value right here. I want to get this value because that's important, because I need to know if the days here are equal or between these two, then there's actually 3 conditions. 3 conditions if we're going to send it. One condition is if the days are equal to or over this. That's 1. The second condition is, are the days equal to or under this? And the third condition is, is the same template been sent already? I don't want to send a template to a customer if we've already sent that specific template. Maybe it's a new template, but I don't want to send the same template. If this template and this template match, or in this case, if this template and this template match, I don't want to send it. So those 3 conditions have to be met before we actually send an email to a customer. So let's go ahead and see how we map those 3 customers. Now we've defined the day since. So here's those 3 conditions right here. Here's 1. If the template name does not equal N in the customer row, that's 1 condition. Remember, we can't have matching template names. That's 1. And here's number 2. And the days since must be greater than or equal to the from days. This is condition number 2. And condition number 3 is, and the days since must be less than or equal to 2 days. Okay, remember, we've defined 2 days and from days up here. Okay, so we know those values. So those 3 conditions have to be met. If those 3 conditions aren't met, then skip all of this right until we see the end if right here. Okay, until this end if. And I'll go ahead and mark that. Customer, let's see, 3 conditions met, so that you know where that end if is. Okay. So that's how we do that. If they are met, I want to do the following things. If those 3 conditions are true, then the next thing we do is we want to open the Word document. The reason we haven't opened it up until now is because there might be different as we go through the list, right? We may open different Word documents. This one, we're only going to be sending out customer reminders, this particular one in this case, so we want to make sure that we open it up and we save it, because each one's going to be different. Each one's going to be different, so we want to open up the template each time. I want to customize that template, and then I want to save as something else, and then I want to close it. So it's important because every customer is going to have different data, so that's very important. So the next step is we open up that Word document. And all we do here is simply set the Word document to equal the Word application, documents, open, and open what? File name. Okay. File name, the document location. Remember, that's that long file name right here in F. That's that long file name. That's the entire Pathway Plus. So it's not going to be read-only because we do need to make changes, so read-only is false. So this opens up the template. The next is, now I want to go through and I want to start getting all those values. Now I'm going to run another loop, and this is going to be for columns. So now that I've got a specific row, now that we're going to send it out, I want to go through each of these columns. 1, 2, I want to go from here to here. Okay, I want to go through all these. And what are the column numbers? Okay, you can do equals column. Okay, that's column 5. So I want to go from columns 5 all the way to 13. I want to go 5 to 13. That's how we get the column numbers. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's why I've mapped out those steps in VBA from 5, actually 14. We probably could go, let's see, I think it could be 13. We don't need the 14th. 13. We can do 13 because there's nothing to do in the 14th column. We just need to 30, which is the days. The rest we'll put in information in. So first of all, we need the tag name here. And the tag name here is, in this case, it's always going to be in row 7, and it's always going to be the customer column. Our tag name, what is that? What have we assigned to that? It's here. Tag name, in this case, it's first name, last name. So basically what I want to do is I want to get this. I want to look in our Word template. I want to find it, and I want to replace the first name with anything. So pulling up our Word template, let's go ahead and pull that up so we can look at it. I want to find anywhere in this document it says first name, and I want to replace that with the actual first name in the table. So in this case, it'll be twice. So 2 times I'll replace it with the actual first name. I want to do that. So, and then the next, it'll go to the next column. Excuse me, it'll start at last name, then first name, then address. So as it goes through each one of these columns in our loop, it's going to look for this, it's going to get this, it's going to replace the contents of the letter with the actual data, and it's going to go through. So let's go ahead and go through VBA. So first we get the tag name. We know it's in row 7. It's always going to be in row 7. And now we know that the value, what is the value? The value is actually in the customer row and the customer column. So for example, in the first row, our value is going to be James, right? For last name, our value is going to be John for the first name. So it's going to get that value, and then it's going to, so now we have the name and now we have the values. Now we just have to perform a simple replace. So we can do that with and end with. With the Word document, look for the content. Okay, what are we going to look for? We're looking for the tag name. What are we going to replace that text with? We're going to replace it with the value. It's just basically a find and replace. And then we're just going to say wrap and then find and continue, and then execute the replace. This completes the replacement. Okay, we can also do forward true and wrap, find and continue, but we don't need that. That's just some ideas you may want to execute. So all we need to do is replace and replace all of them. That means we want to replace every single instance of that tag name with the tag value. Replace every instance and end with. So we're going to do that, right? But we're going to wrap in this loop. So it's done for every single data item in the loop. So it's done for, it's going to go from column 5 to 6 to 7. It's going to get this and replace it with this. It's going to get this and replace it with this. So it's going to go do the same thing with each one, each instance as it's found. And the idea is great because you can then create your own tags. You can create your own data. It doesn't have to look anything like this. And you can go ahead and create your own template. So it's an extremely customizable type of training today, because I don't expect you to use what I have done here, but I expect you to create some really powerful. You could do this with late invoices. You could do this with invoices themselves. You could do this with inventory types. You could do, I mean, the possibilities are really limitless in how you can use this type of training, and it could really, really be powerful. So that's how we create the actual replacing of data in the Word. The next step is we need to figure out what we're going to do. Now that we've created it in Word, what are we going to do with it? Well, we have two options. We can email as Word or PDF, or we can print it out. Okay. So first we have to find out, what are we doing? Is it Word or PDF? What are we going to do with the document? So here we have if range I3 is PDF. If it's PDF, we're going to do 3 things. First, we're going to set the file name, and I've just used the workbook path. You can use your own workbook path, but this is the easiest. That means the path, whatever this workbook is in, it's going to use that path. It's going to add a backslash, and then what I'm going to do is I want to create a name, and I'm using E and the customer row and F in the customer row. So basically, E and F are the last name and first name. So the last name and first name I've added here, and PDF. So I've used the person's name as the PDF. So when we're creating it, it would look something like this. So you see John's Jeff, and you could probably add a space. Why don't we go ahead and add a space? Let's go ahead and add a space, right? Because I would like a space. And quotation marks, underscore, quotation, and, okay? Now we're going to have a space between the first name. I think that'll look a little bit better. We can do the same thing with the Word document also. Let's go ahead and do that. And now we've created it. So now we've got last name space first name. And then the difference is we've added PDF because that's the format. And the next we're actually going to execute. We're going to take that Word document and print it as PDF. And we can do that with just one line of code. Word document, export as a fixed format, output, and we're going to output the file name. Okay, that's going to be the file name because we just created that right here, file name. And export format is PDF. Very simple. And then once we've done that, we can close it. We can close this Word document, and I do not want to save it false because I want to keep that template format. Right? I've saved it as PDF. I don't want to save the template. However, in Word, we do something different. So now it's been saved as PDF. However, if Word, let's just put that, if Word, okay, if it's PDF, then this. If it's Word, then do this. The file name, it's going to be the same, except we're going to add docx at the end of it. Okay, we're going to use this suffix here for a document. And in Word's case, we are going to save it. I do want to save it. Obviously, we need, because if we're going to be attaching an email, we need to save it. But we're going to save it as a file name. That means the template is not going to be touched because we're using save as. The original template will not be changed, which is what we want. And what do we want to save it as? This file name here. So it's really simple. These lines of code can save it as a PDF or a Word document. Next up, I want to get the template name, okay, and I want to put that in that row, and I want to put the date and time. So basically, what I want to do is I want to put the template name here, column N in the customer row, and column O in the customer row, I want to put the sent on. And now is the date and the time as it's been formatted. If you just wanted the date, you could just simply format this differently as just a short date would cover you for that, and that would just be the date. So that is how we do that there. Next up, we need to know what we're going to do then. Now we've created one Word and one PDF. Or showing you how, either or. What are we going to do with it? Well, we've given, in this instance, we've given the user the option. Do we create an email or do we print it out? Okay, so we have those two options here. Let's go ahead and slide that over just a bit. And then, so we have those two options. In the case of print, if, and remember, this is cell P3. So if P3 equals email, then what should we do? Let's go here. If P3 equals email, then we need to create the Outlook. And we've done this many times before, but I'll go over. We're going to create the Outlook application. Okay, this creates the application itself, but not the email. This creates a brand new email. Okay, I'll go ahead and write that, create email, and I'll mark this as create application, Outlook application. Okay, so you know the difference. And now we're saying with this new email, we want to do a few things. We want to send it to someone. Who are we going to send it to? K and the customer row. K, of course, is our email. K is our email in the customer row. So, and we want a subject. You can put in any subject. In this particular training, I didn't put a subject and an email. There's no subject, but you could easily create a subject, right? And you could create spell that right. You can put that in here, create your own little email template and message, and you could create in Excel. You could create those in Excel as well and then use them. But in this case, I just, for simplicity purposes, because it's not part of the core training, I just chose a simple subject, hi, and then the first name, we miss you. Okay, I know it's very sweet. And then the body is also, I've just created a simple text body as well. You very well would likely like to expand on that, and you can. Hello, it's been a while since we've seen you, so I just created a very simple basic text for the body. And then attachments, and this is the beauty. File name, remember, file name is good. We're going to use whether it's PDF or Word. Remember, whether it's PDF, we've used the same name, or whether it's Word, it's also going to be file name. So we don't need to differentiate here because we've already said we're going to attach the file name, PDF or Word, and then display. I don't for training, I don't want to send the email. I'm not sending it to anybody. But for your purposes, if you don't want to see it, you'll use .send. .send means it sends right away, and you don't even need to see it. For now, we'll use display. Okay. And then else. Now, else means, in this case, else print. Okay. Okay. If we're emailing it, then we're going to do this. If we're printing it out, then we're going to do this. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit more clear where the ends if. Okay, let's go ahead and see. It's important to. Okay, now we see if PDF else print out. Okay, so if we're printing it out and we're not emailing it, I'm going to do this right here. Word document print out. Word document close. Okay, and if. That's the wrong one. Okay, so that's all we need to do. And if you want to, you can kill. This deletes the PDF or file name that we just created, but you may or may not want to delete it. It's up to you. So if you want to delete it, include this line. And that's it. And then the last thing we want to do, so this loops through the customer rows. It loops through all the rows. And then the last thing we want to do is quit the Word application. This closes the entire Word application down. That is it for the code, right? And it'll print automatically to your default email. So let's go ahead and delete this. That's going to allow us to print and set this to print. And my default printer is currently Snagit, which is just a visual editor. Click Create Now, and it opens up Word in the background. And then in Snagit, it'll tell you Snagit's printing, and then it'll print just like that. So now you see it'll say, hello, Jeff. I really hope the clarity is not so good on this particular print, but on your print, it'll be very, very clear. So all the data get replaced and it's printed out, whatever your default printer is. So that is how we create Customizable Letter Creator. We can use as many templates as you want. You can email it as a Word or as a PDF. You can create your own filtering system, however which way you want to filter it so that only certain rows and certain customers get printed. And you can also create and print, or you can create and email these templates. And while Mail Merge in Word is a great tool, we've really expanded on that here and given you a great training that you can use hopefully in your work, for your job, or for your customers. Thank you so much for joining me today, and stay tuned for next week. And I appreciate your shares and likes. So thank you very much.